Here's my new and used DR brush mower. I've had it for 2 weeks now, and I got it for 1,500 bucks. I drove 2.5 hours each way to get it. And this, to me, was the nicest one that was on Facebook Marketplace for the money. I just threw out an offer for it, got it for the price I was asking. I mean, it was a long drive for it. It's like the longest I've ever driven to get a used tool. But yeah, I think 1,500 was pretty fair for it. Yeah, I think 1,200 would have been like a really amazing deal. 18 would be on the high end, in my opinion. Because with a used tool, of course, you never really know for sure. But this one seems to be in just great shape. I mean, I haven't really done any cutting with it. I ran it through the weeds for a second. I know everything works. It was really easy to get on and off the truck with ramps. It's got these brakes. They're actually Magura mechanical disc brakes, which is a mountain bike brand. And these are also used for the power steering. So you grab this brake and it turns. And they've also got locks. I think that's a really cool feature. So I'm really glad I got this one. About a month ago, I bought a different DR mower. It was just a neglected little left outside, early 2000s model, just 8 horsepower. It's called the Scout. And unfortunately, I just could not find any of the main components for that mower. Nothing aftermarket, nothing within a reasonable price. You know, it's looking like that spindle wants to move, but it's still not spinning. I'm not really sure what's going on. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think what was going on with the Scout mower was like a seized up spindle bearings. It seemed like the clutch was working on it, but at one time I actually did get the spindle to move on that mower, and I thought everything was working. It got me pretty excited, and then the next time I went to try it out, it was seized up again. The guy I bought this from, which also happened to be an outdoor power equipment mechanic, had a lot of pieces laying around. He said he was selling this for his friend, which was an older woman whose husband had unfortunately passed away. And supposedly this had only been used once, according to her, but he thought it was used more than that and so forth. So it's hard to say how many hours this has on it. I mean, cosmetically, it's in amazing shape. It's like 9 out of 10. The deck has a couple of the typical bulges right here. He might have hit something, or right here. I'm guessing they probably just braced it a little bit improperly with the 2x4. I did that on that last one I was just talking about, and bent the other one myself. But if you put the wood correctly with the whole thing spanning like this, like as you can see, I had to put a lot of force on this to get the bolt off, a lot. I actually bent my breaker bar I usually use for lug nuts, but it still didn't bend this at all because I had it braced properly with a large piece of wood. So that's what you want to do to not bend that up when you take the blade off. So I was at home checking it out. The engine had only been ran for a couple minutes at this point, and I decided, you know what, I'll go ahead and look at the air cleaner. It might be pretty dirty, I don't know. When I bought it, it was missing this right here, and it had a couple pieces of Gorilla duct tape holding it on. I went ahead and replaced this with the OEM that actually fit. I tried an aftermarket one. I still got to return those to Amazon. They broke when I tried to twist them in. So I had to go OEM with these. They only cost a few bucks more for a pack of 2. And I went ahead and pulled the air cleaner cover off, and there's no air filter on there. Like, wow. You know, fortunately, the tube where the air filter plugs onto was very clean, whereas the rest of the box was really dusty. It was a night and day difference. So that told me that the air filter had not been off this machine for long, fortunately. But you can imagine, I really hated seeing that. I messaged the guy, hey, noticed there was no air filter on there. He said, oh yeah, it was really dirty. I was gonna put a new one on. I don't know why you would remove a dirty air filter and leave it off. Usually when you remove a dirty air filter, you either don't or you replace it immediately with the clean one so you don't forget and run it with the air filter off. But that's okay. I gave it an oil change, synthetic Briggs & Stratton 5W30. The oil that came out of there looked fine, and there was enough. I was having a problem with this brake for a minute, I noticed, and I thought it just needed to be adjusted. And then I went ahead and looked in there. I was just poking around, and the tensioner for the brake pads popped out. So I had to just stick the little spring back in here. I tried to do it without taking the tire off, but then I ended up having to just take the wheel off, and that was no big deal. It's just a little C-clip. That one pops off really easily too, and lug nuts. The underside of the deck, 26-inch cut. So I sharpened the hell out of the blade, and I actually used a flat file and some chainsaw grinding stuff. I spent a long time on it. I took off a fair amount of material. I probably went a little bit overkill trying to take off every gouge. The blade was pretty banged up. He was cutting some tree type hardwood stuff with it. I heard it was manzanitas. And the thing had a lot of tree pitch on it. This stuff was pretty hard though. I actually scraped at it with a windshield ice scraper and used a lot of citronella cleaner and a brush because it was just caked. It's looking really nice. The thing's obviously going to get dirty again, but I mean, it was just caked. I wanted to clean it up. I just got it. The blade was hard to get off. I bent it was a cheap breaker bar that I bent, but I've never bent that breaker bar on any lug nuts for my cars, my truck. I bent the breaker bar trying to get this off. A few days after I bought it, I went to go start it up again, and I think the battery was dead, but there's a possibility I might have not had it in neutral or might have not had it all the way in neutral. I'm actually curious to see if this is, I think, the original battery. It's a DR battery, and I went ahead and trickle charged it. It took like 5 hours to charge, and it did fire up a few days ago. It's interesting to me, the smaller 10.5 horsepower model is still the 10.5, but they changed from the 14.5 to the 15.5, yet it looks like the same exact engine, same displacement. I mean, it looks like the same exact engine that they're now calling the 15.5. So I find that interesting. But I'm really glad I got the medium-sized model. I'm going to be using this thing on jobs, and I definitely can use all the power. Well, thanks for having a look, and I'll have to do a video of this thing cutting when the grass gets a little bit taller. Take care.